So everyone, how's everyone doing today? We have a very special guest today with us, someone that I personally look up to, that I've seen on the come up. I literally seen this man on the come up. I've seen firsthand what it is, you know, from somebody coming from close to like where I'm from, do it in real time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Milton Alvarez. How you doing, Milton?
It's beautiful to be back in Chicago, man. It's always nice to be here, bro.
Man, it's nice to have you back.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, and I'm pretty sure some of you do, Milton is a really good, he started off with personal training. He's done a lot of things in his background, but when I met him, he was doing personal training. And do you mind if I tell the story? I don't know if you remember how we
Do your thing, bro.
So, you know, I go with one of my friends to a birthday party. He invites me to a birthday party, and he tells me, he's like, "Hey man, it's my cousin's birthday." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." We go to this spot in Forest Park. You know, it's nice. I see this big, huge guy in the hallway, and you're like, "Yo." And I'm like, "Oh snap!" Like, who's this guy? Huge, right?
Yeah.
So I look. We go in. He's like, "Oh, that's my cousin." So we go in, and me and Sebas were there. You know, you're super hospitable. It was your first time meeting me, and you were like, "This is like your house. That's cool. You can do whatever." Like, just super hospitable, like mi casa su casa.
Right.
And me, we were with someone else. It was me, Sebas, and someone else, and we were talking about, you know, the club and things like that. And this was years ago, and I hear you and a couple of other people having a conversation, and I remember specifically, I heard the word entrepreneur, and I'm like, my ear just perked up. And I'm still young. This is me before I really took videography, photography seriously. And I remember as Ivan, right? Ivan was there as well. And I heard the word entrepreneur, and I said, you know what? I was like, I left the convo with the guys. I said, I'll be right back. And I went to you guys, and I was like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I heard somebody say entrepreneur. Like, I don't mean to like interrupt.
Yeah.
And you guys were like, no, it's cool. And you guys were talking about a whole like plethora of things. And little by little, like, you know, I'm starting to hear you guys, and I had just started watching the PBD podcast. I don't know if you know, like, this was when he was still coming up.
Yeah.
But I swear to you, I was not gonna go to this party. I wasn't gonna go with Seba. I think I was like even heartbroken at the time, but you know. And I was like, nah, I don't know. And I go, and then I'm like, yeah, you know, because we're talking about entrepreneurs. I'm like, what about like PBD, this and this? And everybody in that group stopped. They looked at each other, and then they look at you, and then you like kind of smiled a bit. And I'm like, what was going? Like, did I say the wrong thing? Like, damn, I should have never came. Like, I never should have jumped in this convo. Mm-hmm. And everybody was like, he's his personal trainer. And I was like, what? And then it was just from there. Not only that, but like your work ethic, and then, you know, with Matt Sapala, everything.
Sure. So
ever since then, man, I've seen your come up. You've been very like inspirational, and you even told me right then and there. You said, I remember, like you were trying to put me on. You had a friend that was a model there, and you said, you're really a photographer? And I'm like, I didn't take it as serious as I did now. And I'm like, yeah. And you said, good. Well, she's looking for a photographer. Connect. Boom, like that. And but yeah, man, can we go a little bit more about how you started your journey? I want to start from the top. You know what I mean?
From the very beginning. From the
very beginning. I'm very curious. I've done my research on you, and I think the people need to hear like from the very beginning.
Man, bro. So I do want to be able to clear the air on one thing. I am not Patrick's trainer. I have worked with him in the past when it comes down to massage and just in other aspects for sure. Just in case one day this episode gets to a point where it gets massively exposed, because it will be. By the way, congratulations on your podcast.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
And I just don't want people to think that I am putting out false information about people, right? Yeah. So Patrick is definitely within my network, and we've worked together on a couple occasions. And great guy, humble guy, even to this day, where he's taken off and he's doing his thing, and you know, part owner of the New York Yankees, and he sold his PHP company, and right now he's taken off of Valuetainment, starting off PBD Consulting. So he's doing great things for sure. So everyone's growing at the same time, bro, at their own pace. But when it comes down to, I guess, my journey, so here's the thing. I've been doing what I'm doing now since 2020. In the year 2010 is when I decided to get into the fitness world. I was freshly out of high school, Proviso West High School, in 08, 09. I was playing for the football team at the time, and one of my strength and conditioning coaches would keep me after school, and I would work with the students on site. And that kind of drove me into a position of like, yo, this is really, really cool. I get to work with youth. I get to work with people and teach them something. Teach them a valuable skill they can utilize for long term, not just short term. And I didn't see it that way then. I see it the way now. And whatever, I fell in love with the idea of personal training. Got, last senior year of high school, went to Tryon College, started taking community courses so I can get my certification. Graduated high school after that, and went to school for exercise science. Started taking all my courses, my certification, anything that I need to be able to be that that guy in that world. At the time, I started working for a gym called Bally Total Fitness.
Who remembers? I'm sorry to go. Who remembers Bally Total Fitness? Anybody?
Yeah.
Say it down in the comments if you do.
A lot of the young kids are gonna remember that, bro.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That gym closed down. I think 2012, 2013, if I'm not mistaken. LA Fitness took over, right?
Yeah, it was wild. It was super big.
Yeah, it was a great gym, bro. So it was during that time that I got my start, and obviously, when you're 19, 20 years old, you really don't think much about bills. But at my age, at that time, unfortunately, my parents lost their home to foreclosure. They're going through a divorce, and there was just a bunch of stuff going on that, I didn't have the option to just stay at home. I didn't have the option to stay at home, so I had to be on my own for a while.
Okay.
And when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, and you have adult bills, making $15,000 to $20,000 a year is not something that you can sustain.
Not sustainable.
So after maybe doing it for about 2-3 years, and then maybe moving forward to a Lifetime Fitness in Bloomingdale, Illinois in 2013, that was actually my very, very last gym job that I had. And after that job, I knew that personal training had to come to an end because I wasn't making any money. And that's when I went with my backup, which originally was my primary career choice, which was law enforcement. I got involved in that in 2013 as a police and fire dispatcher. I was working at a local high school as a security guard, and I started doing a lot of security gigs. I'm big, why not, right? And I started learning how to do jiu-jitsu and boxing since at the age of 16, 17 years old. So I knew how to hold my ground in that realm. So things started coming together. And at the time when you're in your mid-20s and you're making $35,000, $40,000 a year, you think you're making it.
Right.
You're making okay money. You're doing okay. Long story short, 2018, I went through a massive breakup with my ex-fiance during that time. I was engaged for a couple of years. That was the girl that I really thought I was gonna be with forever, have kids with, just have that fantasy world of being with that one woman is gonna hold you down no matter what the hell happens, right? And unfortunately, it didn't work out, but I think it was for the best long term.
Right.
On the macro scale of things.
Right. So
during that time, my mental health was shit. My mental health was shit. In the last from 2018 from 2012 to about 2018. Like every single year, there was something happening. 2012. I had a high school sweetheart in 2012. She ended up, we ended up breaking up 2011, 2012 after I graduated high school about two and a half years later. And, it was toxic, and we were back and forth. We weren't good for each other.
I'm sorry to interrupt. How old were you at that time in 2012?
2012.
Yeah.
2021. I was 21 years old, and I thought this was the woman of my life, but after just being toxic with each other and there being cheating from both ends, it didn't work out, and she actually ended up marrying my best friend.
Oh, hell no.
Ended up marrying my best friend, bro. So check this out. So 2012, I ended up, losing my girlfriend, marrying my best friend. 2013, my parents, we go through a foreclosure. My dad ends up moving in with one of my sisters. My mom ends up moving in with one of her daughters, and I'm jumping from basement to basement. 2014, they finally get a divorce, and a lot of people think, "Oh, but you're in your 20s. Divorces doesn't really affect you." No, it still affects you because you're in the middle, especially when they're older parents,
right?
And financially, they weren't really wise, and they're somewhat dependent on you. It affects you. That's 2014. 2015, my best friend, my dog. I was 8 years old. That little dude passed away. 2016 comes around. Beginning of 2016, I find out that my dad has stage 1, stage 2 cancer. So I'm like, all right, he'll beat it. 1997, he beat it. Why not? It's not until like stage 3 and a bunch of my uncles from his country, Ecuador, started flying in. They're like, dude, you're like in massive denial. Your dad's about to die and you're just chilling. I'm like, no, he'll be all right. And because during that time, I was heavily involved in church. Heavily involved in church. So like, he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be healed, right? Not knowing that we do live in a world where everything's just, and everything has to work out the way it's supposed to work out, so you can be built into the person you need to become, and everything is aligned not to what you want, but to what life has for you on the macro scale, right? And we'll get into the whole macro micro thing. So, end of 2016, my dad actually ends up passing away in my arms.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So that's 2016. 2017 comes around. Because at the end of 2016, my mom was like, I can't handle this anymore. Even though your dad and I were divorced, they were still loved and we were companions with one another. And so I'm moving back to my country, Mexico. So I'm like, cool. 2017, beginning of the year, I get a call from Mexico saying, hey, I don't know what you're doing right now, but I want you to know that your mom just had 2 heart attacks and we don't know if she's going to make it. So you need to fly to Mexico. And I'm in my mid-20s. I'm like negative $200 in my bank account, no savings, credit cards maxed out, making $17.25 an hour at a high school. In law enforcement, I was only doing something part-time, so broke. And I had a fiance who just emotionally wasn't available to be able to help me along those lines.
Wow.
By the grace of God, they stabilized her. They put her on a flight where every half an hour, I forgot what pills she had to pop, but she was popping pills every half an hour so that way she doesn't get another heart attack and die midair. She lands, and we take her straight to the hospital, has another heart attack, and then she has double bypass heart surgery. So all of 2017, I spent that year trying to take care of my mother. Finally, at the end of 2017, early 2018, I make the decision, right, because it was a decision from my end for my relationship. My ex-fiance and I had parted ways because I made the decision to say, look, I'm not emotionally in the position that I need to be in. Mentally, I'm nowhere near where I need to be in. Financially, I can't help you, I can't support you. You're being dragged through the dirt emotionally. It's not fair to you. You need someone who can actually lead you from the front, not from the back. Someone who can actually be the masculine figure in your life that you need. I unfortunately can't be that person. And right now, I don't even know who the hell I am right now. I've lost people that I care about, things that I care about. I've been in a shitty situation these last couple of years. And I believed in God. I've been involved in church. I've done everything all the right things, but it's still not working out for me. And I don't think it's fair for you to continue going with me, because then I feel like in 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to end up resenting me. Cool. So beginning of 2018, I end up losing my fiance. At the end of 2018, and this is actually the first time I shared this on the podcast. At the end of 2018, through my law enforcement job, I actually was involved in a homicide. I don't want to get very deep into those details, but I was involved in something that made me have to resign from what I was doing. So all within a span of 8 years, every year was a character building opportunity for me. But after I left personal training, so between 2013 to 2018, those 5 years were extremely, I don't know what to call it, but they put me in a position where I had to come to self a lot. I had to come to understand who I was, what I wanted, and I had to figure it out on my own, because the father figure I once had, gone. Even though he wasn't a perfect father, he was still a man that I knew that when he gave me a piece of advice, it came from a genuine place. It wasn't a transactional piece of advice.
Right.
Even though he wasn't perfect, even though we always clashed, even though people probably hated him, it came from a good place.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What is something that you remember? Because I come from the same thing, man.
Yeah.
Like I had a little bit of toxicity with my father, and I think, especially coming from a Latino background, a lot of people don't understand. Like I have friends that are like, "What? You fight with your dad all the time?"
Yeah.
What is something that you remember that like stays in your head that your father he told you, or something like you think about when it comes to your father day to day?
My dad was a man of few words. He was a man of few words. He wouldn't speak much. Looking back at it now as a 32-year-old, if I were to look at my dad's life, I can genuinely say that that man was going through major depression. Man worked 2 jobs and then went down to 1 from sunrise to sundown. And whenever he would get home, the first thing he would do is walk into the doors, acknowledge my existence with the head nod, and walk straight to the basement to watch TV till about maybe 1, 2 in the morning, like a vegetable. Go upstairs to his room, sleep for about 4 hours, and go to work and do the same thing 7 days a week. Unless it was Sunday, we had to go to the grocery store, like a typical Hispanic. But what he showed me through his actions, not so much through his words, through his actions, is that no matter what the hell happens to you, no matter what the hell you're going through, you need to keep showing up for the people that you care about. No matter what, nobody gives a shit about what you're going through. No one gives a shit about what you're feeling. No one gives a shit that you're broke. No one gives a shit that you're feeling bad. No one gives a shit that you're sick. No one gives a shit that you're having a bad day, that you're having an off day. No one gives a shit that you're heartbroken. No one gives a shit that you're having an addiction problem. No one cares. At the end of the day, as a man, you need to show up. Your job as a man, no matter what happens, whether you have a family or you don't have a family, whether you have kids or you don't have kids, wife or no wife, whatever the case may be, you need to continually show up. As a man, that is your role. That is our responsibility. The problem is, bro, a lot of men nowadays think that the purpose of life is just to be happy and I need to find happiness. No, bro. The purpose of life is to have the purpose of life is to be able to chase the gift, to chase the purpose and the calling that God has placed within you. And that calling and purpose is derived from the gift that you have inside of you that God has placed in you, aka your source. But with that purpose, with that calling that we all have, that gift, with that gift comes extreme, massive amounts of responsibility. So no matter what the hell happens through our entire life, we have a major responsibility to do something with this life so we can leave a massive footprint for the following generations to come. We will have happy moments. We will experience happiness. But if people ask me like, hey, do you think the purpose of life is happiness? Hell no. That is not your purpose. No. That's not it, bro. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of new age new age beliefs that like, oh man, you gotta be one with the earth and you gotta be happy, and if you're not happy, you gotta remove yourself. Like, no, bro, that's an easy exit out of the responsibility that you have as a man. Because a lot of people say like, oh man, bro, if she doesn't make you happy, man, and if she screws up one time or she does this, like something petite, right? Especially when you're married. If she does this or she does that, you need to get out of that situation, bro. Isn't that good for your mental health? Like, no, bro, like you have a responsibility as a man. If you have kids, if you have a wife, if you have responsibility, you just can't leave a job like that. You just can't talk back to your supervisor like 100%. That. You just can't exit out of a marriage. Like, bro, it's through thick and thin. Yeah. As time goes on, people have lost that belief of responsibility, especially men. So that's what he's done. Just by his existence, he showed me that no matter what the hell happens, keep showing up, right? So the point of the little timeline story that I told you about was that at the end of 2018, when I lost everything again, because I lost everything multiple times in the last 15 years. Every year I've lost something big. The greatest men have lost everything and got it back. But go ahead, multiple times, bro. 2019, I started going to a gym called the UFC gym. And I started taking jiu-jitsu classes there. I started taking other classes, trying to get my mental health correct. Because 2019, 2020, end of 2018 and all of 2019 was a year that my body and my mind, my mental health gave up on me. Waking up every day with panic attacks, having anxiety attacks, feeling like crap, having suicidal thoughts, just being in my bubble and no one even knowing it. Because my job, with what I did for a living and as a man, was to show up for everybody. Right. And be okay with it, because that's the way I was trained. That's the way I'm rooted, bro. That's the way I'm rooted. So I went there just to get away, just to take classes, be around people, because it was healthy for me. And that's when one of the coaches was like, yo, dude, have you ever considered, doing personal training again? I'm like, nah, man, I feel like that's a thing of the past. It's not even a real career. Like, I can't really make money off of wearing, shorts and a t-shirt and training people and counting reps. Like, you're a glorified counter who gets paid just to count reps. Wow. He's like, okay, but if it's he basically persuaded me into me basically saying yes. Okay. So long story short, I started working at a UFC gym as a strength and conditioning coach and as a boxing coach, a conditioning coach. And I went from making almost nothing to now I was making around $42,000 a year. So in my mind, $45,000. So in my mind, I'm like, yes, I am once again stable and I ain't making it. Long story short, COVID happened. 2020 came around. Everything got shut down. We all got furloughed. During that time, I had a client of mine by the name of Matt Tapala, who now is one of my closest friends. He's like, hey man, I still need training. I still want to work. I still need to get in shape. Like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I can't train you. Everything's closed, especially in Chicago, nice little blue state who shuts everything down, very sensitive state. Illinois, shout out Illinois. Everything's shut down. He's like, look, I'll buy the equipment. I'll install it in my garage. As long as you keep training me, come to my house and train me in Naperville. Sure, not a problem. So we did it, a couple weeks, and we already had some pretty good progression in the last year and a half that we were together. And he's like, look, man, are you going to depend on the government, or have you ever considered starting your own business? I'm like, Matt, I have no idea what a business is. I hate business. I don't like the idea of numbers. I don't like it. It's not my thing. I'm more of a manual labor guy, right? I was belittling who I genuinely was and my actual identity because I was scared to face what I could be doing and not succeed in it and be considered a failure. So he's like, whenever you're ready to man up, let me know, and I'll be your first client. So I'm like, shit, he called me out as a man.
Wow.
So I remember for the next month, YouTube and Google were my best friends. YouTube and Google, bro. I was YouTubing everything that had to do with coaching businesses or businesses in general, how to start an LLC, an S Corp, like everything.
And this is still in 2020.
This is in
during
2020.
COVID.
This is about April,
Wow.
April, May, June, around that realm.
And it just happened in March, right? Like,
yeah, March 2020. So yeah. So, and again, bro, I was broke because I had one client, so I was making maybe about $1,000 a month,
right.
and I had bills as an adult, and I was backed up in all my bills.
Oh my goodness.
So he's like, okay, you started your business, fantastic. So I really can't help you, but the best thing I can do is tell people the truth that my life has changed because of you.
Ooh.
Okay, cool. Testimony, case study, awesome. So realistically, when I started working with Matt, and again, I didn't make Matt Zapala. I want to get that very, very clear.
100%.
I didn't make him, but I was able to help him along the way, fix certain things in his life that helped him become the man that he is. Okay, so when he came to me with a lot of injuries, military injuries, joints, like all kinds of injuries, a lot of pains. He was a very, very skinny man, which all of those things affect your mental, they affect your emotional, they affect your spiritual, right? Because when you look good, bro, you feel good, and when you feel good, you do good, and when you do good, it's all good. So your health is your number one asset. So when we took care of that, people started noticing a change in his life. So when I met him, he was maybe making around $800,000, $900,000 a year. Still pretty good money. And when I started my business, so about a year and a half, 2 years later, he crossed over $1 million or 1 point something million. Right now, he's around like 2 point something a year or whatnot. But the point is, people notice like he's walking different, he looks different, he moves different, he acts different, he's making more money, he's a better leader, he has higher influence. Like, yo, what changed? And he just started pointing at me. He's like, him. And people were like, can we get in contact with him? Because we want to know what Milton does. At this point, I had a service or a product that I had no idea how to package it. I just knew that I was doing something that was changing his life, but it wasn't just personal training. It was more, and I had to figure out what the hell I was doing so I can actually pitch it to people.
Right.
So long story short, I started getting calls, emails, messages, DMs on Facebook, DMs on Instagram, and people were asking me like, hey, whatever you're doing with Matt, we need you to do it with us. And it was during COVID, but we were already allowed to fly.
Right.
So that's when I started getting calls from Orlando, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, LA, San Diego, like just all across the entire nation. And they're like, can you train with us? Can you work with us? How does it work? Is it online? I'm like, look, man, tickets are so cheap right now, and I think I can actually fly to these people. So I started taking online clients who actually became in-person clients, where once a month I would fly to their state or their city, and I will host big masterminds or boot camps on how health, energy, and all of that can actually affect your business. So long story short, that idea of that business model completely took off. Wow. And within my first 14 months of business, I say this very modestly, within my first 14 months of business, I was able to cross over $250,000. My first 14 months.
That's great, bro.
Making $40,000 a year to $250,000 my first 14 months. And that was cool. That was awesome. But now I had to duplicate it.
Yeah.
Again, and then keep going, and then make more, and then make more and make more, right? So it started off as personal training to now present time today. I got my actual business audited on purpose by a couple of my medical buddies, and their title that they gave me was Human Performance Practitioner. Because what I do, personal training is a service. It's not what I do. The nutritional aspect is a service. It's not what I do. The hormone replacement is a service. It's not what I do. The mental health aspect, everything that has to do with your brain health, hormone health, cell health, physical health, nutrition, everything. All of that is a service that I provide through external people that help my clients become who they want to become. Because one thing you need to understand, and then I'll completely shut the hell up. Everyone has a specific goal they're trying to attain. Look, if you picture a pyramid, at the tip of the pyramid is the goal that you're trying to achieve. And there's formulas to everything that we're trying to attain. Everything has a formula, right? You do this plus this equates to X, right? So if everyone's trying to attain, let's just say you're in business and your goal is to make $1 million a year and whatever, I don't care what you do. In order for you to make $1 million a year, you need to be able to have and run a successful business. That's an obvious thing, right? And that within itself has systems, has formulas, SOPs, yada, 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 yada. Cool. Once you have the clarity on what that goal is, and you understand how to run an actual successful business, you need to understand in order for you to have that, you need to be a great leader. And then you figure out what the hell a great leader looks like, the characteristics, the attributes, the actions they need to be taken, the systems, X, Y, Z.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again.
Go ahead.
What can you explain to the people, what is the difference between a leader and a boss?
A leader and the boss. I believe that leaders lead from the front, bosses dictate from the back.
Okay.
That's my belief. Leaders set the example. Leaders walk the walk. Leaders are, as we say nowadays, right? Leaders are in the trenches with you. Bosses are the ones like on their high thrones dictating and whipping and hitting and telling you what to do, and they're not getting their hands dirty. To me.
Love it.
That's to me.
Love it.
Right? So, but in order for you to be a good leader, you need to have high amounts of influence. High amounts, right? And then that within itself has its own formula. But you can't reach your goal. You can't have a successful business. You can't be a great leader. You can't have high amounts of influence if you don't have the most foundational thing, and that's energy. That's where I come in. That's why people hire me. People hire me for the foundation of their entire existence. And within that realm of energy comes their spirit, comes their mind, and comes their body. To the least tangible, to the most tangible, right? The most tangible is what people usually go for. The spiritual aspect of how to increase, this is a quick tip for anyone who's watching this. A quick tip on how to be able to increase your spiritual energy, right? My thing is God. For me, I believe in God above all things. Everything that I have, everything that I am, everything, wherever I'm going, wherever I've been, it's all God. I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have what I have today if it was not for God. Complete, even my life. But let's just say you don't believe in God. One of the best ways to be able to increase your spiritual energy is to attach your goal to a specific purpose on why you're trying to do what you're doing. Because everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason why you're doing what you're doing. So you need to be able to have massive amount of clarity on why you're trying to achieve X. And once you get massive amount of clarity, you're able to attach a significant purpose to it, right? When it comes down to your mental energy, a way to increase your mental energy is by decreasing your negative thoughts. Or what I like to tell my clients, kill those ants. Automatic negative thoughts. When you're able to identify them, challenge them, kill them, and then replace them. Which is why the God concept is so important. Because when you are able to identify a negative thought, you sit with it and you digest it and figure out what the hell it means, why you feel the way you feel. Is it a fact? Is it a feeling? Where does it come from? Where does it root from? Okay, that's when the challenge aspect comes, and then you kill it by debunking it, by coming up with an actual truth of it. And then the God concept is very important on the last part when it comes down to replacing it. A lot of people think, okay, cool, Milton. Well, if I'm going to identify, challenge, and then kill a negative thought, what do I replace it with? What truth? There's no truth in my life. What truth is it about me? My self-esteem is extremely low. But for a lot of people who actually believe in a God, there are a lot of truths that God says we are. The truth of who God says you are. That you are this, you are that you are great, you are meant for more. You are the apple of his eye, or whatever the case may be. There's so many truths within a biblical context that when you actually go through that exercise, you have a textbook, a book that will literally tell you massive amount of truths of who you are as a human being. So when it comes down to killing all these negative thoughts, you can replace them with an actual truth that comes from your source, that comes from God, right? But let's just say you're like Goku and your spirit and your mind are great. So now all you care about is your body. So for the body aspect, for the physical aspect, a way to increase your energy there is your hormones, your brain, and your cells. That's the area that people usually hire me the most for. Everything else is through conversation, it's through processing. But where my business is today is because of that bottom piece. That's my main job. Is how can we take your life from here to here so that way you can scale whatever it is that you're trying to scale, whether it's being a better father, a better leader, a better businessman, you're trying to 10x your business, are you trying to increase your income, whatever the case may be. That's my job, and that's why people pay me what they pay me today, to be able to travel to their states or to their countries to have the same conversation, but obviously a lot more in depth. And I know that was very long-winded.
That was amazing. You make me want a book. I'm like, where's my wallet at, man? But I have a question. When did you? I know you're very religious, and I love it. When did you really truly? Do you think that you found God? When did that start? What was that journey like? I
was born and raised Catholic. Just went to church every other Sunday, just like any typical Hispanic or any typical Catholic. Then in my teens is when I stopped believing. And I think I stopped believing in something only because of the things that I experienced when I was at home. When you grow up in a house, when you grow up in certain distinct households with certain environments, you kind of stop believing in something bigger because of injustice.
Right.
So for a while, I stopped believing in something. I remember this was 2011, bro. 2011. Long story short, I went to the gym with my ex-girlfriend, my high school sweetheart. Some guys were at the gym. It was at Planet Fitness in Melrose Park.
Oh wow.
That was a grand opening in 2011.
Wow.
And this is why I believe. This is where it started, by the way. This is why I believe God will use your weaknesses for His good. We went to a gym. My ex-girlfriend took me out. She's like, "Look, let's go play pool next to the gym. Let's go play some pool. You're having a bad day. Let's go play some pool. Your boys are there waiting for you." So as we get there and we're walking towards a pool place, she's like, "Oh, look, a gym. They just grand openings today." She's like, "We should go check it out." I'm like, "I don't have money to pay for a gym membership." She's like, "We should still check it out." Cool. We end up going inside the gym, bro. My biggest weakness, and I think my nephew who's here, he can vouch for that. I think in our family, our biggest weakness is women. Every single man in our family, they're womanizers.
Hey, that's why we became real close, man. We have the same weakness.
Yeah. And when you're still in a certain stage of your life, I will say that a lot of men in our family they're womanizers. Some men in their late ages, they still struggle with it, and some guys have been able to grow out of it.
Salvicio.
Yeah. So the reason I say that is we walk into the gym, and when I look at the front desk, the first thing I noticed is a beautiful woman. And I had a girlfriend at the time next to me. And I was looking for any excuse to be able to get away from her, to be able to go talk to this chick.
Right.
Long story short, we got a tour at the gym. I signed up. Screw it. I want to talk to that front desk chick. I started going to the gym. I was too much of a coward to talk to her. Time went on. Maybe about a month later, we're working out one evening, and I see a bunch of guys working out by the Smith machine. And I see that they're like eyeballing me. And when they're eyeballing me, I told my girlfriend at the time, like, they keep staring at me. I was a hothead, bro. I had anger issues.
I cannot even imagine that. That's wild.
They're staring at me. I don't like it. It's like, we're gonna have problems. Long story short, dude comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, bro, I've been watching you work out these last couple of weeks, and I was wondering if you can, possibly give me some tips on how to work out. I'll pay you." At the time, financially, they were struggling. I'm like, "Dude, yeah, take my number down." Long story short, we started working out. He became my client, which now he's one of my closest friends, Manny Torres.
What? That's how you met Manny?
That's how I met Manny.
Wow.
So about a month later, I walk into the gym in the afternoon, and he's at the front desk talking to that girl. So I'm like, yes, this is my way in. I go up to Manny, go up to the girl. Manny introduces me. I'm like, "Pleasure to meet you. You're very beautiful. I would like to take you out," right? Something like along those lines. And she was like, "I have a boyfriend." And I'm like, "Fuck." But it's okay. But then she's like, "Look, Manny, we should invite Milton to the spot." And I'm like, "What's the spot?" "I want to go to the spot." And she's like, "We hang out every Friday night at 7 p.m. I'm like, "It's kind of early. 7 p.m. is kind of early for a party, but I'm down. If you're going to be there, I'm down." So for about 2-3 weeks, bro, they kept trying to invite me, but I kept forgetting. Or my girlfriend at the time, she kept wanting to go out somewhere, so I wasn't able to make it. So right. one day they hit me up like, "Hey, we don't just hang out on Fridays, we also hang out on Sundays." I'm like, "Nah, bro, like Sundays are the days that I recover from hangovers. Like, what do you mean you guys hang out on Sundays?" He's like, "Just come check it out. We'll send you the address." They sent me the address. I remember that Saturday evening, I'm like, "Hey," told my girlfriend, they gave me an address to a party for tomorrow. Like, let's go check it out just in case it's like a setup or something.
Right.
I end up pulling up to a little white church on 37th and Division in Stone Park, Illinois. And I sat there for a solid maybe 10, 15 seconds until my brain processed, like, bro, they're trying to take you to church. So I call Manny. I'm like, "Yo, dude, I pull up to this address and it keeps bringing me to a church. Did I type something in wrong?" He's like, "Nah, man. So you see what happened was like so he just started stumbling. I'm like, "Bro, just tell me the truth. What are you trying to do here?" He's like, "I don't know, man. Kind of looks like you kind of need God in your life. So we wanted to invite you to church, but we wanted to do it in a way where you wouldn't get offended."
Ooh.
I got offended.
Yeah.
So about 3 weeks went by, and I'm not going. And then finally, he called me out again. Apparently, I don't like being called out. Which when people want to get a point across with me, just call me out, and it'll probably work. He's like, "Look, bro, you got nothing to lose. You don't got shit going for yourself. You know, your parents this, you this, or this." Just started naming things out. By that time, we were already friends. He's like, "What's the worst that can happen? You don't like it? Never come back. What's the best that can happen? Your life can change." I'm like, "All right, you got me." Long story short, go to church, walking through the doors. And it's not like a regular church, bro. It's not like a regular Catholic church where you walk in, everyone minds their business, everyone's in their own world, people are gossiping. You walk into this church and just people turn around and look at you and they embrace you. They give you a hug. How you doing? God bless you, my brother. Yada, yada, yada. What's your name? Do you need anything? Like, just extremely hospitable. New to me. Never been hugged by another dude. Never been called brother by another dude. It was just weird. But I'm like, cool. All right, cool environment. Sit down. We have a live band. The worship starts. I'm like, wow, they're loud. They have the lyrics on the screens, and they start worshiping. Maybe about 2-3 songs in, I'm like, yo, this is decent. So I'm just jamming. I'm head bobbing. Everyone's like jumping up and down, praising, worshiping, and I'm just nodding my head. Maybe about the 5th song, bro, I'm reading the lyrics, and I feel like my eyes starting to get watery. And I'm like, all right, well, that's gay. That was my word. I'm like, bro, that's gay. Like, don't cry, right. Chill. So, anyway, worship was over. The pastor at the moment gave a sermon, and at the end, they did an altar call. And I had no idea what an altar call was, so I'm like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'm not gonna do it. He's like, go get prayed, bro. You'll be all right. And I'm like, all right, screw it. I'll do it. So as I'm walking towards the front, I see people lining up, hands up in the air, and their eyes closed, and they're just crying. Some people are sobbing. Some people are like kind of shaking. I'm like, dude's having a seizure. Bro, I had no idea what the hell was going on.
Right.
So get to the front. And I'm like, all right, Manny, what do I do? He's like, just pray. I'm like, what does that mean? I have no idea how to pray. Like, how do you talk to God, bro? He's like, just the way you're talking to me, talk to God. No idea what that meant, bro. And he's like, bro, just tell God what's on your heart. Tell God to look at your heart and to be able to help you speak whatever's on your heart out. Whatever pains you may have, just talk to God. I'm like, nah, I don't think God wants to hear me, bro. He's like, trust me, just talk to him. He's like, just leave me alone. I want to pray too. I'm like, all right, bet. So I leave him alone. I'm just looking around. I see one of the pastors come up to somebody, and he lays hands on one of the persons, on one of the people next to me. And I just see that person collapse to the floor, and I look to my side. I'm like, yo, why are people falling in church? And I nudge Manny. I'm like, bro, why? Someone just fell, bro. I think we should check up on him. He's like, no, it's fine. God just, the Holy Spirit just spoke to them. I'm like, all right, that's cool. The pastor comes down off the altar. He looks at me dead in the eyes. He's like, is this your first time here? I'm like, yeah, it is. He's like, can I pray for you? I'm like, not if I'm going to fall. He's like, I promise you I won't push you. Let me just put my hand on your heart. I'll pray to God. Pray that the Holy Spirit may consume you. And just talk to God. I promise you're safe. And I'm like, okay. Close my eyes. I'm like, all right, God, well, I don't know what to say to you, but you know what I've been through, bro. Calling him bro, because I was uncomfortable. You know what I've been through. You know what I've seen. You know what's going on in my mind right now. You know my sins, I guess. Whatever you can do with me, whatever you want to do with me, please just use me. Do something with me. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't know who I am. I'm scared. I don't know what to do next with my life. I don't know which way I'm headed. I don't know anything. I feel like a failure because I'm not in college. I just started naming things out.
Wow.
And when I opened my eyes, bro, when I opened my eyes were like looking at the ceiling. And I'm like, why am I looking at the ceiling? So I look over to my side. Bro, I was on the floor. I was completely flat out on the floor on my back. And I was bawling my eyeballs out. So I sat up like hella fast. I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on? So I started getting anxious. I'm like, yo. So one of the ushers came up to me. He's like, hey, relax. You're fine. You're safe. You're not, just please don't freak out. You're in God's presence. Marinate in it. Enjoy the peace that you feel on the inside. Because although I was freaking out, I felt peace inside. Mm-hmm. I think that's what freaked me out the most.
Yeah.
I grew up in so much chaos that when you find something or someone that it actually brings you peace, it freaks you the hell out. So you push it away, or you push them away. So I'm like, okay, I'll sit in it. Long story short, bro, that day the Holy Spirit touched me. And from that day forward, God started speaking to me through people, through dreams, through music, through everything. And at that moment, I knew that God was going to do something in my life. I just didn't know what it was. And my biggest prayer from that moment forward, bro, was use me how you want. Speak to me. Speak through me to people. Help me. Help me help people get closer to you once again. And whatever platform you decide to put me on, never let me lose sight of where I came from, and never let me lose the sight that you are the reason why I'm here today. Wow. So in the second week of July 2011, 37th and Division, Little White Church, Out of the Box Ministries, where God spoke to me for the very first time. From that day forward, bro, my life changed.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the day.
Beautiful, man.
That's the day, bro.
You make me want to go to church. I got to go with you. And
that's the day, bro.
Manny has invited me too.
Yeah.
He told me, he's like, we don't have to chill, just doing this. I think we're at 110. And there's the 110 days, and he's like, yeah, man, we don't need to just go out, man. Why don't you come by? And I'm like, you know what? I mean, I am religious, but the thing was, when I was growing up, my family was Catholic too, but I didn't understand. It was all in Spanish.
Yeah.
So I would go with my grandma, and I'd be like, Ma, what does that mean? Cálmate, like, be quiet. Yeah. But man, you honestly make me want to go. I went with one of my friends. She was a real close friend of mine, Erica, and I never experienced that feeling. And I'm not even gonna lie to you. For some reason, I felt like I was gonna cry. Good. And right when I was gonna cry, she grabs me and she's like, I appreciate you coming. I stopped it because I felt the same way. I was like, okay, good. I didn't cry in front of her, but that was beautiful. Yeah. I have another question.
Sure.
So you said some things earlier about, like being a man and, what it is and things like that. What advice would you give a man that's probably like in a really tough situation, mentally probably didn't have like a good role model, father figure, or he's, trying to find the way? What advice would you give somebody like a young man coming up right now?
I don't want to be biased, right? Because I'm like Team God. But that's literally the first thing I would say.
I love it. No, yeah, I love that.
Find God, bro. Like, seek after God, and there's a massive difference, and that's why I like having the conversation with Paul. Paul, the first thing, that's why I asked him. I was curious what he would say, and the first thing he said, like, dude, God. I'm like, yeah, 100%. Paul and I are best friends now. That's amazing. After his response, but there's a big difference between religion and having a relationship with God. Religion. There's always going to be a middleman that tells you need to go through this man, this woman in order to be able to get acceptance from God.
Right.
Having a relationship with God is a direct connection to God, a direct connection to your manufacturer, a direct connection to your source. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
We all come from a source. We all come from something, bro. Everything comes from something. Why do we think that we don't have a straight connection to the source that we come from? And if we want answers, why not go to the manufacturer? If you have questions and you want answers, go to the manufacturer. Ask questions. Like for the Lamborghini, if you have questions, you go to the manufacturer.
Right.
You don't go to a random tire shop that can't help you.
Right.
You go to a manufacturer, bro. So above all things, seek God first, second, and third for counsel. How do I seek God? Start talking to God. But I don't know He's talking to me back. You'll know.
I love that.
You'll know. You need to be able to put your pride and your fear aside. Because here's the thing, bro. A lot of people, they're open to the idea of wanting to know about God, but the moment that God starts calling them to do something that they feel uncomfortable doing and they're scared, they pull away.
Right.
A lot of people are scared that if they say yes to God, that they have to change their entire livelihoods. A lot of people are scared that if they say yes to God, that at some point in their life, God is going to let them down because He let me down already multiple times. But here's the thing. The people who go into that relationship with God with that mindset, those are the people who are looking at God as a genie in a bottle, because they just they seek after God only for their personal agenda. They think God's like this, like again, a genie in a bottle. We're like, all right, God, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and if it doesn't go my way, then you're not really God. No, that's not how it works. The moment you agree to go look, seek, and ask, and be one with God again, and know that God's the one leading you, you're going to do things that you don't want to do. You're going to go through things that you don't want to go through. If you're asking for patience, you're asking for wisdom, you're asking for strength, you're asking for all these things to become a better man, you're going to go through situations. You're going to get your heart broken. You're going to be broke. You're going to lose things over and over and over and over again. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose family members. You're going to lose your identity. Because you are literally being molded into the man or woman, not since we're speaking about men, you're being molded into that man that you're meant to become. The man you were 10 years ago won't be able to handle, Kane, won't be able to handle the burden that you have today. The man that you are today won't be able to handle the burden that you're going to have in about 20 years from now. In order for you to be able to handle those future burdens, you need to be molded and fixed upon a platform in order for you to be prepared for those moments. Right? We see God on a micro level. God, I'm seeking after you because I need a prayer answer. I need this, like a parent. But God is trying to have you seek Him on a macro level for His purpose, for His plan, for His will. Like, how can I make impact for the world? Bro, you will become abundant in every aspect of your life. especially financially, when you genuinely tell God, like, God, I want you to use my finances to bring impact to the world and bring impact to your people, versus, God, I want you to make me more money so I can buy a Lamborghini. God, I want you to make me more money so I can have better shoes or a Rolex or an AP.
Right.
That's not going to move God. That's not going to move God. What's going to move God is if you are being a good steward of your finances, and if you utilize that money to genuinely change people's lives. So you're not praying the wrong thing whenever people are praying certain things. You're just thinking way too small. You're thinking way too damn small, bro.
Yeah. I love that. A lot of people that I see that are super successful, the number one thing that I see them do, I mean, they praise God and they give back. They like nonstop. Like, it's been like some, because I deal with a lot of like motivational speakers too. There's a lot of my clients, and a lot of them have become my mentors, which is nuts. It's a blessing to have a client that becomes a mentor to you as well. And a lot of them do the same thing. They all give back. They put God first. There's somebody, one of my clients, his name is Early Walker. And I did a video for him, and it was in a church. It was in the South Side. And I went there. I was like, man, you know, it was like way south. Like, but when I got there, it was the most beautiful, euphoric thing. Like, and I was like, man, everybody's singing. They're bumping into me. Some dude ran out in the middle of the, what is it? Is it the sermon? I'm not. Yeah. And he ran out. He goes to the floor, and I'm just like, I couldn't even record, you know. But yeah, I really do love that. You got me actually even rethinking a lot of things right now, and I appreciate that. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, so I know you've had a lot of hardships coming up, and typically I like to shed light on what it is, like what were some of the sacrifices on the way, because I've seen a lot of people want to be business owners. They want to change their life. They want to go to the next level. But one thing that I've been struggling with it even like recently, you know what I mean? Sometimes like it gets really hard, but like it's very lonely. You know what I mean? It's very lonely. How did you deal with, you know, not going out or sacrificing, like, you know what I mean? Like, how did you go about being like, you know what, no, I'm going to do this? Like, what was some of the hardships on the way here? Like, did you lose friends? Did you lose, you know, a lot of relationships? How was that? Yeah.
Well, first thing is I created a vision. I have the vision on what I want. So clarity, number one thing. Be able to be extremely clear, like I'm talking about crispy clear on what it is that you want, what it is that you're trying to achieve. Because it's only then that you'll be able to know what steps you need to take in order to be able to obtain that. That's one. Right. Number two is being able to follow in the footsteps of people who've already done it. Oof. Okay, whether in the same industry or different industries, right? Because I'm gonna take advice from people who are, I guess, masters in their industry. Like, if I want to learn about God, I'm gonna go talk to a rabbi. I'm gonna go talk to a pastor, right? If I want to learn about, I don't know, finance, I'm gonna go talk to someone who's making a lot of money. If I want to talk about medical stuff, I'm gonna go talk to a doctor of some kind, right? Everyone has their own mastery in something, right? So clarity, being able to follow in the footsteps of people who've already done it. So seek counsel. I was actually talking to this about. I was talking to Josh about this today. Is what it takes to actually grow your business, and what's the difference between someone who's getting paid $5,000 a month by one client versus someone who's getting paid $300 a month by a client. There's an identity difference. And there's an actionable step difference on what they do between these two people. Sure, I can go the cliche route and say, yes, I've lost the friends, I've lost the family, I've lost the respect, I've burnt bridges, I've sacrificed going out, I've sacrificed drinking, sure, that's part of the package deal. That's a given. Why? Because you have a business to run, and that's the conversation we had this morning. Was that, look, bro, at the end of the day. And I think I brought this up to you in the very, very beginning. If you have your own business, people are seeking your service or your product, and they expect it by X time, and they expect it delivered at X rate. If you can't deliver, they can go somewhere else for cheaper. But if you're charging them X dollar, they expect X result, and they expect X experience. When we go to Walmart, we're not worried about what the CEO is going through. We just want our products and we're out. When we go to a tire shop, we don't give a fuck what the mechanic's going through. Right. We just want our car fixed and get us the hell out of here. Right. We go get an oil change. We don't care what your technician's feeling, if he's having massive diarrhea, whatever the hell he's going through. We want our oil change and get us the hell out of here. Right. We have a busy life. We're parents, we're this, whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, people don't care what you're going through. People don't care what you're feeling. people don't care what you're experiencing in life. What I'm trying to get at with that is, yes, so check this out. It's, what have I sacrificed is my mental well-being, my emotional well-being, my physical well-being. Bro, when I was an employee, I was working out 6 days a week, sometimes even twice a day. I was jacked, I was big, I was cut, six-pack. Right now, I'm lucky if I can work out 3 days a week. Lucky.
100%.
Lucky, bro. I'm working my way towards a dad bod.
Me too.
Am I happy about it? Definitely not, because I'm in the fitness industry and my body is literally my marketing tool. But it's a sacrifice. I decided to make this sacrifice because I wanted to make sure that my business grows. You need to be able to remove the emotion that we have from our personal lives when it comes down to our business. Our business has his own identity. We can't involve our feelings in it, bro. We involve our feelings in our businesses. Our business is not going to grow. We just need to take every logical, actionable step that we need to take in order for us to have that business grow. Whether it's reading the books, whether it's watching the videos, whether it's paying mentors, bro. One of my biggest investments.
Talk about it.
One of my biggest investments for me, because people ask me, bro, what do you invest in? Do you do Bitcoin? Do you do stocks? What do you invest in? And although I do Bitcoin and I do stocks, and sure, is that my biggest investment? No, it's not. My biggest investment, bro, is whatever money I make, putting it back into my business. That's my biggest investment. Right now, I'm paying around $8,000 a month on mentors.
That's amazing, though.
$8,000 a month. I pay 3 guys to mentor me on numbers, on SOPs, on how to, on just mindset. Because these guys, bro, one guy's making $1 million a month. The other guy's making around $400,000 a month, but they're making a lot more money than I'm making.
Right.
And they're all in the same world that I'm in. So they're doing something that I'm not doing.
Right.
So I guess the sacrifice is, instead of going out on a weekend, on a Saturday night, like last couple weekends, instead of going out, like for example, I was in Colombia last week. My sacrifice while I was in Colombia, like, okay, cool, I'll enjoy the daytime. And out of the 5 days that I'm there, I'm going to allow myself one night to go out and do what I want.
Right.
Every other night, I did my chores. I went out for maybe an hour, grabbed a drink. I didn't get fucked up. I grabbed one drink.
Yeah.
I ate. I did what I wanted. By 9 p.m. that night, every night, from 9 to midnight, I was on my laptop working in my hotel room.
Wow.
Every single night. 2 weeks prior to that, I was in Vegas working the World Series of Poker with my clients in Vegas, bro.
Wow.
Right? Every night I will call room service to bring me food. Same response. Every single room service lady, when they dropped off my stuff and they picked up my stuff in Spanish. Sir, it's 8 p.m., 8:30, 9 p.m., whatever time they would come. I'm like, yeah. How old are you? 32. Do you have kids? Wife? No. Single. What are you doing here? It's a Thursday. What are you doing here? It's a Friday. What are you doing here? You're in Vegas. Why aren't you out? Why aren't you with somebody? Why isn't there a woman in your bed? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, yes, you're in Vegas. Why aren't you having a good time? Every single woman talking to me about balance. Every single woman talking to me about what you need balance in your life. You need this. And respectfully, bro.
Right.
I don't need someone telling me to have a life of balance when I'm not trying to live their life.
Oof.
Here's the thing. A lot of people try to tell me, like, Milton, you need balance. You need to balance out your life a little bit better. Listen to the people that lives you're trying to mimic, whether it's spiritual, whether it's mental, whether it's financial, whatever you're trying to achieve. Listen to those people, not people who aren't living the life that you want.
Right. So
that's the sacrifice for me. So instead of going out and enjoying myself, right. AKA tricking off money,
right,
spending like $200 on 4 drinks at a club,
yeah,
maybe getting a girl's attention because she's under the influence and tomorrow she'll forget who I am. Mm-hmm. Maybe getting like 4 girls to give me their Instagrams and then tomorrow they'll probably delete me.
Right.
Maybe getting like 3 girls to like just text me or whatever, and then we text for like 4 days because it's so exciting. Like, wow, we should keep in contact. We'll fly in, we'll fly out, and then like a week later they forget I even exist.
Right.
For what? For what, bro? It's not doing anything for me. It's not doing anything to be able to build what I'm trying to create.
Right.
I told myself that by the age of 35, I have 2 years to figure it out. By the age of 35, I was gonna be a cash flow millionaire. That was my ultimate goal through my business, cash flow millionaire. At that moment, other things opened up for me.
100%.
I'm not that far away when it comes down to those goals, but all that came from the risk and the sacrifice that you spoke about. I lost 3 girlfriends, bro, and it sucks.
Bro, I know what you mean. I just had a situation recently where I've said this story a couple times, but I've had to kick a girl out of my house because she wasn't letting me finish editing. You know, she wasn't respecting, like, yo, if I don't get this edit to this client, you're not going to be the one that loses the job. You're not going to be the one paying for my son's food, you know, for my rent, anything like that.
That's why having the right partner is extremely necessary.
Can you talk, and I'm sorry, we're jumping around a little bit.
No, let's go.
What do you look for in a partner? Because I agree with that 100%. And I will say I did meet somebody that we did, like, no BS. I feel like the right woman in your life, the right partner, just in general, is extremely vital. She has to be a good co-pilot, right? Because men lead. But I'm not gonna lie to you, man. That person that was in my life at that time, and we're still on good terms. Sure. But it's this kind of like the same thing. I was like, you know what? You're gonna end up resenting me. I'm always working. I'm working 12 to 14-hour shifts. I don't have time to like be, you know, on top of you all the time. So I cut it off, and she respected it. But what is something that you look for, or that you even recommend somebody that is on this road, on a road to greatness? What do you recommend telling them about the person that they should choose, or any advice as far as that? Or what do you look for?
The number one thing is the main thing, because that one is going to impact the rest. I need and I want a God-fearing woman in my life. An actual one, not just the one who just posts Psalms something in their bios on Instagram. Right? I don't need that in my life, bro. I need a woman who actually practices what she preaches and what she posts. I don't need a woman who she's posting half-naked pictures with like Bible verses and then quoting the Bible and all these. I don't need that in my life, bro. I don't need that for clout. I don't need that.
100%.
A woman who's actually God-fearing, because she understands the principles and the morals and the values of what actually following God means. Why? Because in biblical standpoint, if you actually go into biblical context, where I don't want to get too far into, because I know you're short on time. If you go back to the very beginning of the Bible, in Genesis, and I'm not going to quote the Bible to the T, but it's in Genesis. It says that God gave Adam work. It didn't say God gave Adam wife and then work. It said God gave Adam work. And then after God gave Adam work, later on, not instantaneously, not because he said yes to work, not because he worked a little bit, later on, God gave Adam a wife from his rib. Chronological order matters. So what does that mean? When you have a God-fearing woman, she understands that as a man in pursuit of a purpose, you have a greater calling, and you have something to do for this world on a greater scale, especially when you're meant for greatness. And all of us are meant for greatness. Every single person in this room is meant for greatness. So when a true woman understands that, and because she's a God-fearing woman, she understands that belief, that his work, his purpose comes first. So work comes first. So when she understands that, she's in the same industry that you're in, so she's a complement to what you're doing, and you guys built something together with chef's kiss, or she's just an extremely patient and understanding wife, woman, fiance, whoever she's going to be in your life. She's extremely understanding because she knows because she understands what it is that you're doing for the future, a macro scale, a long-term vision of what it is that you're trying to actually do. Make sense?
Right.
God gave Adam work, then God gave Adam a wife, a woman. But notice that when God gave Adam woman, God gave Adam woman from the rib.
Right.
Okay. Whether people want to see it as an equality thing, or people want to see it as woman came from man, came from the rib, aka what? Similar identity. AKA it has to make sense. It has to be a symmetry. It has to be
one.
Exactly. But it has to be a mesh. Does that make sense?
Right.
Naturally, who they are as people needs to be a complement to one another. Naturally. A lot of people say, "Oh, bro, opposites attract." I don't believe that. I personally don't believe that. Yeah, I believe you need someone who's somewhat like-minded as you are, someone equally as yoked as you are, who has a vision just like you do. So whether she's in the same world as you are and you guys are trying to build something together, amazing. You guys go into business together, or she's just someone in your life who can complement what you already do naturally from the back end. Wow. Right? But that's if she's a God-fearing woman, which is number one, she will understand everything else. But let's just say she's not, which I recommend you should really focus on someone who is. Number one is God-fearing. Number two is someone who can respect me. Because I believe that men feel mostly loved when they're respected.
100%.
I want to be respected. Okay. Number one is God fear. Number two is respected. And number three, I was telling my nephew this earlier. I want to be, for you, for him, for myself, for anybody who's single, I want to be able to be with somebody that if she leaves the country or if she leaves to a different state or town or city or whatever the case may be, where we know a lot of people go there to cheat, I'm going to be at peace. Or if I leave the country, I know she's not going to have anybody over. Does that make sense? Like
100% trust.
If we get upset and we get into an argument, I want to know who her circle of friends are. So if her and I get into an argument and I go to my boys and she goes to her girls, I know that when she's with her girls, those women are going to push her back to me. How? What does that mean? Or even the boys, her pushing me back to her. So I can go to you. We're boys. And you come to me, you're like, oh man, Milton, I can't believe, bro. She's such a this, she's this, she's this, she's this. The wrong guy in your corner is going to tell you, hey, bro, screw her. Let's go to the club. Let's go find some baddies. Let's go drink. You don't need that woman. That's the wrong guy to have long term.
Right.
That could be your boy when you're screwing around in your early 20s and you're not taking life serious.
Right.
It's bad counsel, but sure, it's acceptable. But if you need someone long term as an adult, someone who will actually stick around when you're married, you need someone to say, hey, you know what, bro, Kane? Okay, I appreciate you venting to me and I appreciate you telling me what's going on. And I'm sorry that you're encountering what you're encountering. But let me ask you a question. What did you do wrong? What are you doing wrong? You need a circle of friends who are going to call you out and say, what are you doing to fix your relationship?
Right.
What are you doing to make sure that she's feeling loved? A lot of us have circles, bro, who are just feeding our egos and making us feel like, oh, bro, no, it's not you, it's her.
It's extremely important.
So for me, God, respect, network, and trust. Biggest four things for me, bro.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate it, man. Everybody here that's watching, all the viewers, listeners, watchers, man, he just dropped a whole bunch of gems, man. And honestly, like, I'm grateful too. I'm going home. I'm gonna rewatch this too and study it and things like that. 'Cause this man's time is very valuable and expensive, and he's not hard to find, but he's hard to find. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to plug your socials or anything like that, anything you want to say, any upcoming things with you, if you want to go ahead and plug it up.
No, man. First time I've been asked to do that, but no. Anything I can do to serve you, your family, your friends, even yourself, just reach out at Instagram, Facebook. It's all the same thing. SMB Performance _. I'm sure it will be somewhere on the screen. So just feel free to reach out. I'm not a public figure or an influencer. I'm just a random dude, regular dude. Just reach out, and I'm here to serve, man.
You know what? And I just want to share this one last story. One time when I was really on my fitness stuff, and Milton's right. When I had my full-time job, granted, I was working 60 hours a week. It was, I clock in, I clock out. I was in the best shape of my life. I didn't have to worry about calls, like, you know what I mean? Like, nothing. Like, it was great. I was in the best shape of my life. And me and you went to work out in Export in Melrose. I don't know if you remember that. And I remember I was so happy to be there, whatever. We're working out. We do this whole big routine, and you're like, you okay? You good? I think we were there for like an hour. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like maxed out. Like, my muscles are swollen already. And you're like, all right, good. That was the warm up. I'm like, what? And I awesome. Specifically made sure I didn't go with you on leg day. I specifically, this guy's leg days, like, you could see, like, people can't walk. They take the elevator. It's nuts. I'm like, I'm not going on leg day with him. But I remember, I'll never forget this, man, because it really did mean a lot to me. Because, like I said, I look up to you. I know a lot of people that look up to you, and it's just crazier because you're from, like, the same community. That's what's even wilder, and you're super humble. But we took a gym picture together, and you said, and this, I'm telling you, this is what's crazy. It's like, this was before I was, like, doing anything really, like, with my life. Like, I was doing it, but I was still going through my trials and tribulations.
Sure.
And you said here with training with a celebrity videographer. And I'm like, Milton, why'd you post that? And you're like, what do you mean? Why wouldn't I? And I'm like, dude, like, in my head, I'm like, this is his influence. This is his people. Like, the type of people, like, you've worked your ass off to be around the people that you're around. And I'm like, he just literally, like, just banked for me. Like, that was a blessing. Like, you just said, here, like, and you said, you gotta speak it into existence. And I never forgot that. And I was just so grateful that you were even willing to put your name on the line for me and post that. You know what I mean? Even though it was probably to you, it was probably like, oh, you know, but to me that was big. So I just
awesome,
want to
bro.
say thank you, man. And I appreciate you coming by, man. I love everything you said. But man, thank you guys so much, man. And thank you for coming.
Let's do it again, bro.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it again.
We got
Awesome.
it, man. We're out.
Go on.